Alright, today we're making shrimp and grits, classic low country cuisine. We're using Geechie Boy grits, which are local grits, and we're going to use some local shrimp we got from Crosby Seafood down the road. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pan going really hot. The recipe calls for 3 cups of water to 1 cup of grits. I personally, because I'm a gluttonous SOB, I love cream in my grits. So I do 2 parts of cream to 1 part milk, or 1 part water. So we're doing 2 to 1 cream to water. What we're going to do is we're going to let that come to a boil. And then we're going to put just a couple pats of butter in there because, you know, butter makes everything taste better. And then we're going to let that come to a boil. When that comes to a boil, we're going to add our grits. All right, so now that we got our cream, our butter, and our water coming to a boil, we're going to slowly start to add our grits into it. For those of you who don't know what grits are, it's literally that's corn that's just been cracked over a large die grinder. So literally this is just whole corn that's been busted up and cracked into pieces. So what we're doing is we're going to start adding this cracked corn or grits to our liquid. And we're going to slowly incorporate this so it doesn't start to stick to the bottom and burn, because burnt corn is not something you want to try. So as this starts to come to a boil again, we're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to put a lid on it, turn the heat down to a slow simmer, wait about 20 minutes, check it intermittently in between to make sure that we haven't evaporated too much liquid, and then we'll go to the next step. Liquid have been absorbed into the grits, so we're just starting to stir them and make sure they're not burning. You can see how they're nice and fluffy. They've got a great consistency to them. We're going to let these go for a little bit longer. Now the bag does say about 20-minute cook time on that. I would watch these. These tend to cook a little faster than you would expect. At this point, I'm going to add just a touch of salt to this and some pepper. A lot of items that you would cook, you would add these ingredients at the beginning, but since we're dealing with such a dense kernel, we want that to be opened up and expressed so that it can absorb the salt flavors and season it. So you don't want to really season it before, season it after they've started to moisten up and loosen up a little bit. Be right back. At this point, we're about 12 minutes into the cook time. It's starting to absorb a little fast, so I'm just going to add just about 3/4 of a cup of water to this, just to bring some liquid back into this, because the grits still have a little bit of bite consistency to them. You want them to be a little bit firm, but you don't want them to have too much of a crunch. So we're going to put some more liquid back into this. We're going to incorporate it really well, put the lid back on, go for about another 5 minutes, and then we should be good to go. So our time has expired, approximately about 20 minutes. You can see we've got great, fluffy, creamy grits here. Good consistency, so we'll just take a quick little taste and make sure that we're cooked all the way through. Yeah, I'm getting better than that. Be right back, we're going to cook the shrimp for this. Alright, so now that our grits are done, we're going to cook the shrimp. So like I said, we've got some local shrimp from Crosby's right down the street. Gorgeous, fresh out of the ocean. We've got some scallions, little green scallions cut up. Got a little bit of lemon for some nice citrus flavor. Some fresh crushed garlic. Little local tomatoes out of there. Some parsley for a little color on the finish. And of course some butter. So we're going to take a couple pounds of butter. Get them into our pan. Start getting that to melt. You could substitute olive oil if you want in this, but we put cream in the grits, so why would I stop using butter and fun stuff at this point? Alright, so that's going, so we're going to put a little bit of butter in here. A little bit of garlic. I love garlic. I think it goes really well with the creamy aspect of the dish. It sets off the nice salty tones from the shrimp, and garlic is just good. Alright, so that's starting to just sizzle a little bit. We want to start compounding flavors and ingredients onto this at this point. So at this point, we're going to take our shrimp, put those guys in there, a little bit of salt, fresh pepper, a little toss. As you can see, the shrimp's just starting to turn slightly pink. You don't want to overcook shrimp because they turn into little rubber bands, and no one wants to eat a rubber band. Alright, so I'm going to cook these till probably about 3/4 of the way done, because there's other ingredients I want to add to this. So by the time the other ingredients are finished, I want to make sure the shrimp are just cooked. So at this point, I'm going to take my tomatoes. They're just some colored, nice little grape tomatoes. This is going to add a nice vegetal aspect to it, just a touch of acid, which acid is great to cut the fat aspect of the dish. It kind of brings everything together in harmonious love in the palate. So we've got those tomatoes sizzling in the butter with the shrimp and the garlic. At this point, I'm going to throw a little green onions or scallions in there. Gives it a nice little color pop up against that. A little bit of a reggae, island-inspired color to it right there, which is great. So now we're going to add a couple squeezes of lemon here. Let's just do one more for fun. Let's toss that around. Alright, so you can see the shrimp's just about cooked all the way, which is perfect because the tomatoes do still have some consistency, but they're warmed up and broke down just a little bit. So the rest of the butter I have here, I'm going to add the butter into this dish. I'm going to turn the heat off because I don't want the butter to separate and break down. And you're slowly just going to be making a little bit of a pan sauce here. So you can see the butter starting to come together again. All those lovely flavors that have caramelized and reduced to the bottom of the pan, we're scraping off to make sure we get all of that lovely ingredients there. You can see there's just a slight little bit of a sauce there. I'm going to take just a touch of parsley, throw that in there. Give it a little toss. So we're good there. We've got our great creamy local grits here from Geechie Boy. We're just going to plate some of those up into this bowl right here. Just a touch more. Alright. Now we're going to come in with our shrimp. So a couple nice spoonfuls of that. Make sure you get some of the tomatoes in there. Alright, a little bit more like that. And voila, Geechie Boy shrimp and grits.